Hello everyone, this is Baduk, and I want to start a new little series on Tygem, because I've been kind of enjoying Tygem lately, and the highest rank you can join on Tygem is 1Q, so I figured that'd be a good starting point here. So let's see if we can get a game, see how long it takes. Now Tygem is not quite as popular as Fox, but overall, it seems that they still have like 3,000, 2,000, 2,000, like a bunch of users online, so let's just see. All right, looks like I have a game, and I'm black. Let's see if they stay. I'm playing against a 1-Don. All right. Let's get a few moves in. Oh, okay. They're going to approach right away. I'm perfectly fine with just answering an approach right away and not worrying about anything. Oh, and they're playing this really small move here. I'm just going to take the other corner, set up the same sort of thing as before, and again, I'm happy to just take the points here. So we're sort of in a similar situation on both sides of this board. This corner is not very happy because it doesn't have a good place to expand, and neither is my corner. But my corner is more closely surrounded, so I think I would want to play there first rather than playing on my opponent's side, so I will just take an enclosure. I've seen people do this one a lot, but I don't really think it's very good. It's probably not too bad, though. I think I'm just going to block the corner, keep my points, and not worry about what he's doing. So on Tygem, there is a sort of worry about AI stuff. I think it's fine to just block. But there is a sort of worry about AI stuff because they do have some tools, some AI analysis tools available for anyone to use, except for the English players. But I think that's not really that big of a deal. From what I could tell, it doesn't seem people actually use AI the entire game. So there's this clamp in the corner that he's sort of aiming at, which gives a little bit of weakness on this side of my group. And he played sort of the small move instead of the bigger one, which makes me want to turn here. But if I turn here, he's just going to be directly building this territory. So I'm not sure I actually really like that. I think it's better to invade in this case. And I think I want to take this middle point because that gives me this move here to run away or to build strength if I want to, or I can just jump out. But I could also go all the way over here, try to put pressure on this group. Let's go all the way. I usually think it's better to go all the way rather than to play a middle move. So he's pushing here. If he Hanes, that doesn't really do anything. He can cut here and come in, but these stones are dead if he does that. He has the clamp. I go down, he jumps. I have to do something here, and he can come out and do something on the side, but that weakens his outside. So I think I'm just going to jump out here. Let's see what his plan is for my corner. Because I don't want to Hane here and give him extra strength. I think he probably doesn't really need to worry too much about this group. So he's cutting directly, which doesn't really change anything. You just don't want to Atari this direction, because you Atari here, he goes out, this is Atari, then he can capture the stone. So you want to Atari on this side and just cover over here. So yeah, if I block here, this is basically the same shape as if he'd Haned first. Can I do something more? If I cut and he Atari's down, he can Atari down, it really sort of ruins my shape. If I just capture the stones to get rid of some in-game stuff, then he can push here. And that's a little bit awkward for me. I think I'd rather take away the Liberties on his outside stone, so I will connect. Ah, now he's wedging over here. Okay. So I mentioned this in a different video, but you usually want to Atari from the side that's easier to protect, right? So if I Atari on this side, I have to protect here at K17 because that's peeping this cutting point already. So then he can cut directly. So I could potentially hurt this group, but it's a little bit easier for me if I do it from this side. Now the question is, if I connect on top, he cuts here, I go down, and he captures the stone, then I still have to come back and connect here. And maybe that's actually good for me, because I can peep here to connect and then go out here, which makes it really difficult for him. Or if I do this one, it's already protecting the cutting point. So, But if I do the one on the top, it gives me a little bit more eye shape. But he cuts here, and then I push it out and surround. I don't know. I think either one seems to be fine. Let's do the one on top. See what he wants to do here. Because if he cuts here, I just Atari and push. And then he's surrounding himself. Okay. Now his group is already surrounded now. I can just Hane here and cut. It's already surrounded. Because he made this exchange in the corner, I don't believe there's anything that he can do with this cut. So if I connect, he connects up, I turn here, he does this one, I have to throw in. Then he can't seem to make another eye here. This is all just reading. If I block, that makes it a lot simpler. He Ataris and takes the stone. But I have Sente. So I think Sente is probably more important. And then I could try to fight with this stone, but I think taking the outside potential is a little bit better. So yeah, let's just Atari and sort of force him to capture this stone. And then make our outside very strong with this extension here. That is not a cutting point because I can capture these two stones. So this doesn't really seem to matter. So as I mentioned earlier, my group in the corner was sort of lonely because it didn't have anywhere that it could go as a 4/4 stone. And it's the same with his stone over here. So I wouldn't mind just taking his corner now. It didn't seem to matter which side he blocked on. So he just wants to take his corner. I could force him to take the outside, but I think I will just capture. And just play normal Joseki. Okay. For this, I always like to just make this exchange right away. It doesn't seem to really matter too much. And then I can push here, which weakens the Liberties on these stones. and it would make this area a little bit stronger. So let's just push right away. This bottom side's difficult for him to build. So if he makes a small extension, I can just make a small extension. And we can play very simple here. But when he does this really big one, he's aiming at this peep here, but it's not really that big of a deal. So I could just Tanuki, but if you are worried about it, you can play a bump here. So
9, 8,
I think I will just bump this and Hane on the outside here. This restricts the liberties and makes it so I can turn here. So I can push and cut now. He Atari's up, and then he defends. Then I go out, and he jumps. I think I will just invade instead. The push, cut, then this invasion works to help with that. This is just a forcing move now, which I can now push and cut. So this was a little bit of an awkward situation for him. He can Atari me down and capture the stone. Then I Atari underneath, and then I could just live directly. Let's see. He should Atari here first, I think. He did not. So let's just live directly. That was a really bad move on his end. These two stones don't really matter. I think this was potentially a bad idea for me. Just living small here, but I think it's probably fine. So he wants me to protect these two cutting stones. But if he Ataris to capture them, then I can no longer get this Atari in Sente. Does this matter? I don't think it matters too much.
9,
Let's just come out some more. Okay. I can just Hane here. And then we can protect our cutting stone. Or protect the cut here. There's so many different ways to protect. Just connect, I think, is probably fine. We'll just protect our other side here. And we can move towards our other group, which is nice. We're just making shape here. So now we have at least one eye here, and we can push and go down to make another eye. I went through that really quickly, just because I just started playing it. But I can just connect. But now we also cut off this stone, which is an awkward situation for my opponent. So now he has this stone that he has to work with, and if I jump out over here at any point, these stones are probably going to be dying. So we usually want to restrict liberties here, so we should Hane. This might be difficult. I think he has... I guess that one's fine. So He's trying to make it into a complicated fight.
9, 8, 7, 6.
So let's take his vital point here, which will help us try to make a little bit of ice shape as well. And just extend. And he's letting us really restrict his liberties, which is really nice. We want to honey on this side because the turn here is not as important as saving this group. But we do still want to honey and restrict the liberties as much as we can. That's very, very important. So let's read here if this move actually works. If I Atari, then Atari, this is an Atari, but then I Atari again and push. It seems like it might not work. Let's see. He doesn't have a lot of liberties, so you have to be very careful when stuff like that happens. He has 2 liberties. If he captures, I connect on top, and he still has 2 liberties. Now he still has to protect these stones on the bottom as well. If he extends here, he's just forcing me to capture the stones. And it seems like he has resigned. This is a problem with Tygem. If you look up in the corner, you'll see that the time is at 0, but there was no notification for me at all. There was no notification in any way. So that's a little bit of an annoyance in Tygem. I've sat here for quite a few minutes, quite often. Not minutes, but like 30 seconds to a minute, and been like, what's going on? Anyway, so in this game, I think I did make a mistake on this bottom side. I don't think it would have lost me the game, but I do think it was a bad idea. And I just won because I was able to take advantage of my opponent's liberties. Let's see if we can look at this game at all. There we go. I think the main part of this game, because he realized that this was probably going to die. There was not really a good way for him to save it. So he did decide to just give it up and try to take some profit here. Because he gave me the option, right? Since he did that, I think he needs to try to do something right away now, as in like an enclosure over here. But he ended up playing on this side, which wasn't doing anything at all. This group is probably going to be fine. Yes, it's a little bit small, but me attacking it is not really gaining me too many points. And this isn't peeping anything because I can capture these 2 stones or connect. And even then, I don't even really have to protect the cutting point because the corner is alive and I'm out into the center. So again, he just needs to play in the corner or try to do something complicated here in the center. But because I protected myself in a very strong way, there's not really any way he can do that right now. But I think this was actually a pretty good choice. Just keep the center. I think most just like here was probably going to be fine. But this is where I think I made a mistake, was with this push here. Yes, there is Aji here, but I think he can fight back and maybe even severely attack my group. So he has, I forgot I need to press this button again. So if I go down here, he does have this Atari, which he can take right now. And he can kill this here. The reason I want to take this Atari now is because he can then extend here instead of connecting here. If he extends, then it's a little bit awkward for me. And it all depends on this sort of reading thing, if this works or not. Because if he just goes down, oh, okay. If he just goes down and I push, I can't cut. I actually have to come back. And then he can just connect, and it's very awkward for me. And I realized that right after I played it. And there's other ways for him to take advantage of this area as well, even without that. But because of this and him being able to connect here, because now if he takes this Atari, it changes things quite a lot because I'll just capture now. Whereas the timing sort of mattered here. If he captures this now, then I'm perfectly fine just pushing and coming out at very minimum. And my group should be perfectly safe. So before he protects this, he needs to do this Atari because he still needs to come back one move. And if he gets to capture this, he doesn't have to play this move at D2. But even then, when I extend here, I think he can just, Tygem, I need to get used to. I think he can just push and just push. I think it's a little bit difficult for me. There are cuts here for him. So let's say he has to protect the cuts and I get to connect up underneath. This is an okay result. But now he does have a little bit of potential. At the very least, he can threaten some stuff on one side or the other and try to build in some way. It's hard to find the right move, but there is a possibility of trying to build now. Whereas I think the simpler way to play, which doesn't give him options to potentially capture me or to build a good wall, is just to respond here. He sort of has to do this one eventually. And this move is sort of awkward for him. This move's awkward for him. You know, I can just play very simple moves because he has cutting points and I'm going to be out into the center now. Or I could be even simpler and just press him down. But the real story of the game here is that after this became complicated, he tried to really fight me here, tried to push me. He just didn't play very good liberties. This whole fight was very bad liberty shape. So, like, the empty triangle is bad, of course. So you always want to jump instead. So like this jump is okay. Then he can capture still, right? And if he captures with this jump, then he can keep extending here, and this is a much stronger position already. And then even here, this jump is also fine. If I connect here to really try to fight back, he can Hane here and make this really nice shape. And it's the same with the other jump too. If I decide to connect in some way, he gets this really nice tiger's mouth. That's why it's probably not a good idea to protect these stones. But this move just makes it so that I have a lot of forcing moves. I think I know what he was thinking. He's like, oh, this move, I can capture these stones directly. But that's very, very not good. Because the other moves also threaten to capture. And he could just Atari directly. That's the other thing with the Liberties here. He has enough Liberties here to Atari this directly. And he can push out here and then surround me if I decide to save these stones. And if I try to push and cut, these jumps here with the Liberties on my stones over here are very questionable for me. Like, I have to really worry about all of this. So I have a weak group here and a weak group here. It should be a good fight for white. That's why if he does Atari this right away, I should be jumping out. I am threatening these stones because he played a bad direction here. And now he can still just protect this group. It ends up in a very similar shape that we saw before. And then I can jump out here to attack these and run my group towards the center. But it got even worse, though, because he kept making bad shape that gave him bad liberties. Here, he did this double Hane, which allows me to cut him and fight with this middle stone. But he doesn't need to Hane there because he can just extend. This group is all alive. It gives him plenty of liberties. Now, if I try to jump and try to separate it all, he can just push and cut. There's nothing here. Like, I can't do anything to his stones. They're strong. They're connected. So he doesn't need to double Hane, which is another bad shape move and liberty issue move, really. Because my group, since I did that solid connect, has a lot of liberties. And when he does this Hane and I extend here, it's kind of difficult for him to find the right move to actually surround or to attack, because he's not going to have enough liberties for most things here. And then again, this is another liberty hurting move. This looks like maybe it's like an eye stealing move here, right? So if he plays this one, I connect. Now he has less liberties than what he had before. He just lost strength for this left side group, which means he now has to defend it. But if he defends it, I think I can just take this little ladder here. And now I don't really have anything to worry about in the game. So he wanted to try to fight back, but if he's going to fight back, he definitely can't play this move here. Not right now. Because this is what he did in the game. If we just push here, now I'm threatening to capture the stone with one Hane. And I'm still threatening. Just by taking away his liberties, I'm threatening to capture his stones. Even if he can cut me and come out, it's no good because he just doesn't really have enough liberties on these stones. It's a little bit more difficult if he doesn't, it's a little bit more difficult for me to do this if he didn't take this liberty away from himself, because he can play more active moves if this liberty isn't here. Because if he plays it now and tries to defend in this way, I do have all of these sorts of Ataris and stuff here. But if we go back, I gotta press this button. Okay, we gotta go back here. Now, if I try to do this pushing thing, I was supposed to jump. For this pushing thing, he can sort of try to make eye shape here. And when I push here and here, this Hane is threatening something, but it's not an Atari right now, right? There's still a space here, which means he can come out if I try to do it in that direction. So then I would have to go over the top instead. And now his group is alive in a much easier way. And then it's also back to the middle of the board. What happened in the actual game is I just took away his shape points, and then he took away his own liberties again. This move doesn't do anything, right? So now I'm able to Hane, and Hane here, he has to actually play this move in order to really escape with liberties. But even this move is a little bit difficult. I might even be able to play something like this. This might just be too much for him in general. You should read this out, see if this works. But this one obviously doesn't work as well because of all of these Ataris. And there's no way to take advantage. There's no double Atari. There's no anything on the outside because my stones have much better shape and they have more liberties. So I think that was the sort of main thing that he has to worry about in this game. He did this weird approaching thing in the opening, but if he could control his shape a little bit better in the middle game, he would have had a chance to try to fight back. I gave him that chance, and he wasn't able to take advantage of it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you look forward to more videos on Tygem, and we will see if we can run into any bots while we're here, or if we lose any games on the way up from 1Q. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Have fun.